Stand by to launch FanStream Sports.
3, 2, 1. Let's start.
Hello, sports fans. Welcome to FanStream Sports. Nothing but pure sports. This is the JP Show.
JP, it is so good to hear you back on the air.
Stand by. Now, here's JP.
Well, it's not a good morning, but we'll say welcome to the JP Peterson Show. Sorry we're a little late this morning, but circumstances demanding we're a little bit out of sorts today. Apologize for the audio. We'll make it better as it goes along. Not sure where that came from. We're working on a little bit of a handicap this morning. Tim Ham joins me from Dallas, our DFW affiliate of FanStream Sports. Honestly, Timmy, I'm still a little shook up about what happened yesterday. I want to talk a little bit about it here today at FSU, and it's all too often and too common in this country. It's just gotten awful. But good morning to you. How are you, buddy?
Good morning. We're rolling and going here the best we can with heavy hearts, of course, and with thoughts and prayers with everybody up in Tallahassee right now.
Yeah, we're not going to spend too much time on it, but I think it would be completely wrong to not start the show with acknowledging what happened yesterday.
Literally right as we went off the air, right? It was
yeah.
I think the first 911 calls were at 12:02 Eastern. So literally as we were leaving the air. Yeah,
and for those of you who don't know, I'm a Florida State graduate. I worked for the Florida State Radio Network for 8 years with Gene Deckerhoff, the great Gene Deckerhoff. Florida State obviously is, I bleed garnet and gold. And watching the images yesterday of what happened in Tallahassee and the familiar buildings, and knowing, those are the bricks pathways that I walked for many, many years in a student union that is new now, but certainly the same area. The pictures where my fraternity house was, literally right across from the student union. I mean, from my frat house, you could have seen and heard everything going on, and it just brings it home. There's no question about that. It just brings it home on a totally different level. And obviously our thoughts and prayers has become kind of a cliche, but at times like this, it's just not a whole lot of words that can describe the feeling that goes on when something like that is happening. It's the second time there's been a shooting on campus. It happened back in 2014, Stroger Library. My son went to Florida State and he has since graduated. But I have a lot of friends who have kids on campus, had kids on campus yesterday. And the feeling that they went through when the alerts go out, first and foremost, thank God for those policemen and Florida State Police that responded quickly. It was always kind of a joke. We would joke about the Florida State Police and being on campus, and it was like, it was always kind of a joke that they going to be able to protect anybody if anything happens. But boy, did they step up in a big, big way. And of course, that was 35 years ago. They stepped up in a big way. They saved countless lives. Well-trained, heroic, courageous. The response from FSU police, Tallahassee police, and the Leon County Sheriff was absolutely critical to saving, literally countless lives. Because this person, I won't even call him, it's hard to call him human. And was watching the video. There's video of him like just shooting at people. I can't imagine. Tim, you fired a gun, right? You fired a gun, right? And when you have that power in your hands, I can't even imagine. I'm not a hunter, and I'm not disparaging hunters in any way. I don't know if I could shoot an animal, let alone a human being, like point a gun at a human being and shoot them. Like, I don't know what type of craziness it takes to go down that road. It just.
Yeah. We talked yesterday in a positive way about how some people are wired a little bit differently when we were talking about our friends with Operation Healing Forces and those people that go to fight for your country and defend our freedom. Some of those people are wired differently in the most positive way possible. These people are on the other end of the spectrum that can facilitate something like this. It's not a human response to want to force harm on another human being for no reason, that's not in self-defense. It's unthinkable. It's incomprehensible for most of us to be able to fathom how that thought could even go through your mind, and it's unfortunate the way this was sort of facilitated. The child of a was it a Florida sheriff's deputy?
Sheriff's office, yeah.
The deputy of it in the sheriff's office with one of the department guns. I can't even imagine.
Well, I think it was her personal gun. Not that it matters.
Oh,
but,
okay.
Yeah. When it was her personal gun, but not again. It doesn't matter.
Right.
And of course, everybody goes and plays the political card right away about guns, and I don't want to get into it. Listen, if I could wipe every gun off the face of the earth, I would. It's not happening.
It's not where we are. Yeah.
It's not where we are. All right. I mean, get rid of guns. It's not happening ever in this country. And in other places, it's been tried. I'm not going to get into the political part of it. It comes down to what's in here. It comes down to what's in. It doesn't matter whether it's a car, a knife, a bomb, a gun. You can kill people with anything. We have to attack what's in here. We have to, and the media is a huge part of this. The media is a huge part of condoning violence and allowing violence in certain areas, for certain political ideas, but will not condemn violence in other places. It's ridiculous. And it needs to be universally condemned for everything. I mean, it's just gotten crazy. And the mental health of our children. I mean, it's a 20-year-old kid. 20-year-old kid who grew up in a very, I wasn't there, but seems like a very stable household. He was part of the Florida Sheriff's Youth Program. He was known to all law enforcement officers. And, if you've done any research, he certainly had a political bent. And did that lead to some of this? Who knows? But the fact that people condone violence in certain ways, political violence, and it leads to this. And the media is very, very complicit here, in my opinion. And so anyway, it's what our kids, and I'm convinced that all of these violent video games and the violent media that they have been exposed to over the years, you go look at the trends of shootings, of mass shootings, and when these video games became prevalent, and again, are we going to ban all these video games? Nope. The genie's out of the bottle at this point. So, there are no easy answers, but Lord, it just feels like, we've got to be more, there was a time in our country where human life was treasured and valued. And in other places in the world, it really hasn't been, in a lot of different ways. And it seems like now just killing people and shooting human beings has become commonplace and okay. And it's just not. And that's not what our country and our culture has been about for most of 250 years we've been in existence. And it's gut-wrenching to see it when it happens, on your campus, and your friends are involved, and your friends who are parents are freaking out because their kids are on campus and they have no idea whether they're alive or dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the worst part for me as a parent, and I got 6 kids out there running around. I don't know where they are half the time, even though I track most of them on my phone. Even as an adult, I can still do that, and it's just, it's worrisome as a parent. But you think, especially when they're in the place where you think they should be the most safest, they're getting an education on campus at school.
Yeah, that is, boy, certainly that is no more. That is no more.
Not anymore.
Yeah, so it's gut wrenching and it's horrible and it's all those things and it's all too common. And I had a chance to speak with really hang out with athletic director Michael Alford on Wednesday night. We all after the event, a couple of us had a drink or two at the lounge and just got to know him on a very personal level. And I saw him yesterday. I know he had a very important day, and I won't get into it, but he had a lot of things planned for Thursday that certainly he could not do. And he quickly got back to Tallahassee and was out there cooking hamburgers and hot dogs for all the students at Hauser Stadium. And he's an incredible man. He's a very kind man. He's a wonderful man, and he's very intelligent, very knowledgeable, very insightful, and he's a great leader. And at times like this, you need great leaders. They canceled all of classes and athletic events through Sunday, as obviously appropriately they should. And I'm sure there will be the requisite honoring of the victims as we go through the athletic season, football season especially. So he'll handle this in the best way that he can from the athletic side, because obviously that's the most public side of the university, and that's the place where people can be remembered and memorialized the best. So he'll do a great job of that, I know. So it's a sad time, and when it hits one of our own, and it's great to see a lot of my Gator friends, putting their hearts out on social media and in text messages to me and others in our group text messages, which, at times like this, it's just, there are no rivalries, we're all so human, but it's, it just makes me so freaking sad. It's tough.
Daniel jumps in here, says, if you're a parent reading this, please give your kid a hug and tell them that you love them.
Yeah. I called my son
Very well
yesterday. And, asked him if he had any friends still on campus. And he said, no, everybody was okay. And everybody that he knew was okay.
Yeah. Rick jumped in too there. Yeah.
And my son quickly told me he was safe yesterday at the end of the show. He was in class at another building. Thank God for the quick police response. Oh, absolutely. There were some really interesting things to this case that still need to be sorted out. There's eyewitnesses saying that there were two shooters. I had multiple text messages from people that were connected to people in the ER and connected to the university that the scuttlebutt on campus was that there were two shooters.
Well, that's what they reported when I first turned on the TV.
Yeah.
First reports I had News Nation and Fox News on two different TVs, and they were both reporting two shooters.
Yeah, and sometimes in those areas, the shots can echo. And so it can sound like they're coming from two different directions because you got so many buildings there.
Right.
So that may have been what happened there. But then I also heard reports of people saying a guy got out of an orange Hummer and started shooting. And then another eyewitness said a guy came out of a building and started shooting. The one eyewitness said they had shooters. There was two shooters at either end of the Union. So when people were filing out, they would be, sitting ducks as they came out of and so that's what one eyewitness said. A guy, actually, I heard a couple eyewitnesses talk about that, and eyewitnesses talk about a guy getting out of Orange Hummer and then a guy coming out of a building shooting. So none of that and then there was another report that there was a combined training exercise yesterday where there was scheduled at noon between TPD, FSU police, and the sheriff's office. And if you heard shots or explosions, they've actually warned the public.
Oh, wow.
To ignore them.
Wow.
And, and the shooter, of course, was connected to the sheriff's office, obviously his parents. And did he get information about that and strike right at that particular time?
Use that to his advantage, yeah.
Yeah, to his advantage. I don't know. I'm just speculating because of all the, the different reports that were out there. I mean, we'll find out, all of this in the end. I mean, none of that has been called out by the police yet. So it's just there was a lot of and in these situations, typically you're going to get a lot of these different things, and unfortunately, it's in these days, this day and age, you can't trust the reporting. You just can't. You can't trust the reporting, and unfortunately, you can't trust law enforcement sometimes either, because they may be trying to hide something here. You can't trust anything anymore, and that's the really bad stuff. So, you just got to do your best to stay safe and keep your kids safe. And but that law enforcement response yesterday was absolutely incredible, and that was it saved a lot of lives. Saved a lot of lives.
Absolutely.
All right, so we'll again, thoughts and prayers to everybody that was affected by this, and it's it's a scar that's never going to leave many of these kids.
Sure.
They're going to walk around in the student union and hear a car backfire, and freak out.
Well, and the unfortunate thing, I mean, among the many, many unfortunate things here, but what doesn't get reported a lot of times is that students that experience stuff like this end up leaving school and never going back. And it affects their lives negatively like that in that regard for the rest of their lives, because they're just shell-shocked. Yeah, they're shell-shocked, and they're like, I can't go back there or any other, education facility. So it affects them in ways beyond our comprehension as not having been there,
Listening to some of the students talk yesterday, there were some of them that were, kind of matter of fact about it. Said, we've gone through these drills in high school. We've gone through these drills in college. We get alerts. We're used to this. Oh,
I can't even imagine.
We're used to this. I hear him say, I'm like, holy Jesus, where have we gone?
That's a terrible world, but that has to be the case. Yeah.
I mean, some of you younger people may be listening to this and going, God, what are these guys making a big deal of it? It happens all the time. Well, it didn't. There's a time in our lives where none of it never happened. It never happened.
Mm-mm.
And then came Columbine. Yeah. And, we can get into a lot of different reasons why. I don't want to get into a political discussion, but are guns too easy to get? Yeah, sure they are. But you're not getting rid of guns. That's not happening. It's not.
JP, I went to a high school, and I know you went to school in Florida. Of course, I went to school in Texas. I went to a high school where we all had pocket knives in our pockets every day. I knew guys who lived outside of town who drove their trucks to school with guns on a gun rack in the back window because they would go hunting after school.
Yeah.
We all had access to knives and guns, and we had them at school with us regularly.
Right.
And we had fights in the stairwells at school. None of us ever thought to pull our knife out and stab the other guy.
Or go get your gun. Or go get your gun and shoot them. Yeah.
No, that just never.
And that's the point of the whole thing. It is, guns kill. So do knives. So do cars. So do trucks. So do bombs. I mean, there's a million ways.
Airplanes.
Yeah, airplanes. There's a million ways. If you want to do something bad, you can do it. It's about attacking the mentality of why people are doing this. And, you can debate it all you want, but since kids have been put on these psychotropic drugs, for every reason in the world, let's get them a pill. It's something or some chemical imbalance. And don't worry about the side effects of what the hell it makes. I remember the first time I ever took Zoloft. One of my, I was going through a divorce and job loss and all this stuff. And my doctor said, I think you should take Zoloft. Like 2 days later, I'm seriously thinking about ramming my car into a telephone pole as I'm driving it. Yeah. Like I'll never forget that powerful feeling in my brain. And I literally had to pull off and get a hold of myself.
Right.
And I'm like, what the F is going on in my brain? And,
there's no doubt medication affects
my God,
more people nowadays than it did. I saw something on the news. Yeah, as a matter of fact, yesterday, or maybe it was the day before, about autism and how the autism rate has increased in the year. And even as recent as the year 2000, it was 1 in 3,000 children were diagnosed with autism.
Yeah.
And now, as of 2024, it was like 1 in 30.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that's a ridiculous.
But the autism people, I put that up on Twitter the other day, and they said, it's just because we're diagnosing it more. Okay. It has nothing to do with big pharma and all the crap and vaccines, the 73 vaccines that the kids now get. I mean, are you out of your mind?
Yeah.
I mean, it's so much of this it's just wrong. It's just wrong. And these mass shootings, since, the increase in those prescriptions, increase in violent video games, absolutely look at it on a graph as an increase in mass shootings.
Yeah.
and it's absolutely 100% correlated. We got to understand what we're doing and what we're putting into our children's brains, and what's going into their brains from this, and it's God, it's so bad. We just need some leadership to fix these things, man. And it feels like there's and that's what so sucks about both sides of the aisle is it doesn't matter what one side says, the other side has to do the complete opposite. Just not based on anything. It's like, oh, that we got to say no. If they say 2 + 2 is 4, we got to say it's 5. Yeah. As no, so they're always fighting and always
a conflict. Yeah,
always a conflict. Yeah. So anyway, all right, let's get back to sports, partner. We probably went on too long about this, but we apologize. Well, no, we don't apologize. No, we don't apologize.
We don't want to apologize.
These are important topics that need to be discussed. I wish we could, speak of them more clearly than maybe we can on a sports show, but it is what it is. So we'll move on and talk some sports. It seems kind of, trivial to be quite honest, but
a little mundane now, but we'll get through it.
But away. In fact, let's go ahead and take a break. I can't just roll right into Yankees Rays after this. I just can't. I'm sorry, I can't. So let me take a break, gather myself and my thoughts, and we'll come back and we'll talk some hockey. We'll talk some Rays. We'll talk some Bucs draft, and anything else you guys want to bring to the table.
Tito at 11:30 coming on to talk a little NFL draft with us.
Oh, cool. Well, so we'll talk some NFL draft from a fantasy perspective too. So we'll do that. We're brought to you by the Jeeves Law Group, JEEVESLawgroup.com. They are local, they are trusted, and they get results. Go to jeeveslawgroup.com. That is the website. Contact them if you are in an accident. You got to do it within 2 weeks, so make sure you call them. JEEVESLawgroup.com. They'll take care of all your needs when you're involved in an accident. So give them a call. Back in 3.
Spring means a time of renewal and Rays baseball, and the folks at Italiano Insurance want to welcome the Rays to Tampa and remind you it's time to renew those insurance policies with the now famous Italiano Insurance Checkup. Let the experienced and friendly agents shop your policy for the best price and coverage. Famous for saving me over $1,000 on our auto insurance last year and over $500 on our homeowners. Now that's a grand slam. Might as well get a double play by adding flood insurance and business insurance to your portfolio. Costs less than you think, and trust me, you do not want to risk your home or personal wealth. That's a big whiff. So step up to the plate and call 813-877-7799 and chat with the all-star agents at Italiano Insurance. 813-877-7799 or go to ItalianoInsurance.com. Go Rays! JP here for Riveters, our new official sports bar and grill of the JP Peterson Show. And just like our show, no BS, no corporate chain feel, just amazing, authentic folks serving great comfort food in a casual atmosphere at unheard of prices. Riveters is located just south of Raymond James and Steinbrenner Field on Dale Mabry, walking distance to the park, so free parking, great place for pregame and postgame. Let's talk about fresh food. Nothing is frozen. Burgers, wings, prime rib, roasted fresh daily, never frozen. That makes a huge difference. The mahi, the salmon, also super fresh. All our sauces are original recipes made in-house. Our Warhawk chili and fully loaded potato soup is made fresh in-house. It's the best food anywhere, served by people who actually care. Riveters on Dale Mabry, just north of 275, just south of where the Bucs and Rays play. We'll see you there. Are you looking to renovate your home, rebuild after the hurricanes, or build your dream home from scratch? Well, let me tell you about my friend Jason Fawcett and On-Site Construction. They have over 1,450 satisfied clients, 25 years of experience, over 500 designs, and a talented team of over 40 construction professionals. They believe building something exceptional begins by truly focusing on all the details, even the smallest ones. We understand that construction can be a daunting process, and we're here to make it as smooth and stress-free as possible. Quality is non-negotiable at On-Site Construction. We use the finest materials, employ the most skilled tradespeople, and adhere to the highest industry standards to deliver a product we're proud of and that you're going to love. Our project management is meticulous with a focus on completing projects on time and on budget. Your happiness is our primary driver. So give us a call at 813-579-5789 or check out our incredible website at onsiteconstructionfl.com.
Let's go.
Right now, back to the show on FanStream Sports.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show here as we roll on this Friday. We're 6 days away from the draft, Timmy. 6 days away from the
I'm ready.
draft.
So ready.
Yeah. The Bucs
It's funny. We have I'm in this little group of buddies of mine, some other writers and a couple of our buddies that are, older. I think I'm the youngest one in the I'm the youngest one in our group. I'm 54. Everybody else is in their 60s. But, we're all sports fans, and a few of us are writers. And we have our little, what we call our grumpy old man meeting every third Thursday of the month.
I love it.
And, so we had, we get together at just a different bar, restaurant, whatever, every third Thursday, and they just drink, right? And just have fun and try not to talk sports. We try to decompress. Well, one of our friends, who, of course, knows we're all writers, all he wants to do all night is pick our brains on the draft. And we made a no draft talk rule before we ever sat down. And then unfortunately we had a couple of people that were also at the bar, recognize a couple of us. And of course it turned into this round table of, all right. And we spent about 35 minutes talking to strangers and our buddy there about the draft. And I'm just like, we got to do this again tomorrow just so we can decompress from our decompression. I mean, it was insane. Well, everybody wants to talk about the draft. It's great though.
Well, I love that part of it. And, because so many of us are college football fanatics, right? We're college football fanatics. Yeah. And, you watch these players for years and years, and now you're like, okay, can they play in the NFL? And
right.
I always watch my college games. Obviously you're watching, for your team or whatever. Mm-hmm. But I always watch it with an eye towards the draft. Like, which one of these guys is standing out? Which one of these players do you think can play at the next level? And of course, always thinking, do they fit with, with the Buccaneers draft needs, and a lot of times you won't be able to, you never know until maybe end of the season, who those guys, like a guy like Mike Green. I didn't watch a lot of Marshall football this year, but you see him pop up. You see him pop up at the Senior Bowl and start knocking it out of the park, and you're like, wow, this guy would be a great fit for the Buccaneers. Mm-hmm. and their edge rush needs. So it's fascinating to kind of plug these guys in, and I've seen a lot of different mock drafts over the past few weeks, and a lot of them have the Bucs taking a wide receiver. Jahad Campbell has been all over all the mock drafts. A lot of the Pewter Report folks love him as well. Right. Jalen Walker from Georgia is another edge rusher whose name has popped up a lot. And I think we have someone in our chat says Nick Amanawari from South Carolina might be someplace that they go. I've seen mock drafts of him going to since the Bengals at 17. A safety. I think I just don't see how we get away from an edge rusher. But there's so many good ones on the board. I just don't. It's such a need. And when you go out and sign Hassan Reddick, mm-hmm. you don't, and that, it doesn't force you. No, if there's a run on edge rushers right at the beginning, then you're like, and you get down to maybe the 8th best edge rusher at 19. Well, then you can't reach. You can't do it. And so, signing a Hassan Reddick protects you against that, because if that they not, I think you almost have to overdraft at that point, because you're a Super Bowl ready team, and it's such a glaring need. It's such a glaring need for you. So Hassan Reddick really frees you up in the draft, and I think that's one thing that over the past couple of years that Light has done a great job of, is that's going out in free agency, and you don't necessarily have to sign the top players, but just address the need. address the need so that you'll have a capable player in that position, and you don't have to reach in the draft. You don't have to reach in the draft. So um, and I think that could free him up to get a Jihad Campbell who 117 tackles at Alabama. The guy was a monster. He's incredibly versatile. He was, I believe, recruited as an edge rusher and then moved inside, so he's extremely versatile. And that actually are two needs that the Bucs have. You could turn him into an incredible outside edge rusher. He could play inside as well. So that's a huge part of it. But obviously from the edge rush category, Abdul Carter is going to be. He's going to be an immediate game changer. That guy rushes with the ferocity. 6'3", 250. He just reminds you a lot of the great edge rushers that have come out. Khalil Mack. He's got the body, he's got the speed, he's got the explosiveness. Obviously, he's not going to be there when the Bucs draft, but just to go over that position group, that guy is a stud. And if I'm maybe other than Tennessee, if I'm another team, I'm not taking a quarterback when that guy's on the freaking board. No way. Mm-hmm. No way. You've got to improve your team. The Giants don't understand that, but maybe they finally do.
I doubt it.
Yeah. If they want to overdraft the quarterback, because after Cam Ward, I think the rest of them are just pretty average.
And Cam Ward in a normal draft and in normal situation probably wouldn't even be drafted till the second round, I don't think.
Yeah.
Maybe late first would be. You get a team that needs a quarterback desperately, they're going to overdraft. But I just don't think this is a very strong draft for any of these guys, and that's why I like what Cleveland is doing. They went and got Joe Flacco. They're one of the teams that need to quarterback the worst, right? With Watson hurt again, probably won't play next year, and that they went and just got Joe Flacco. I think to be a stopgap for this year, because next year's going to be your quarterback draft, I think.
Right. Absolutely.
And that's what the Saints need to understand. The Steelers need to understand that. The Giants need to understand that. Just don't take a stretch on all these guys,
Well, and all those programs right now, all those franchises to me, and I would even go as far to say the Steelers as well. They're in rebuild mode. Get more picks. Although this is, I think in essence, or I think most draft people will say this isn't a great draft. It doesn't have a lot of game changers in it. It's got some depth to it. You can find some starters in it, but there's aren't a lot of great game changer. Abdul Carter is obviously one of them. And we never know. We can talk all we want about what we think is going to happen. This might turn out to be an outstanding draft. You just never know.
Yeah.
But as far as edge rushers go, Jalen Walker, 6'1", 243, coming off the edge for Georgia. Just incredibly fast. It's a lot of different skills, good variety of moves, but I don't think he'll be there when the Bucs pick either. Now you start getting into some guys that will be there. Mike Green, he was so explosive and has done so much in his workouts. I don't know if he'll be there at 19 because he just, he's one of those guys when you turn on the tape. Now, obviously he's playing at Marshall, but in the games that he played against top tackles, he showed pretty well. And 251, I love him. If he's there and the Bucs don't take him, I'll be sad.
The thing with Green, I really like his game too, but I think he's going to fall quite a bit because of his questionable history. He's been accused. He's never been charged, but his name's been attached to these, assault charges, even going back to high school.
Yeah.
And whenever that's attached to your name, teams, of course, they'll do their homework. I don't think it's quite as bad as it was, because the same thing happened with Warren Sapp. I remember teams were going to touch Warren Sapp because of his so-called questionable history. Look at Randy Moss. How many teams passed on Randy Moss because of the same thing?
Yeah.
But I really like Mike Green. If you want to take a flyer on him, and if you've done your homework and you don't think he's going to be an issue in the building long term, then dude, I think he'll be a good player for you. I'm almost more concerned with more interested in what the Bucs do in the like the second and third rounds, because I think whatever you get at 19 is going to be it's going to be great. If it's Matthew Golden as a wide receiver, if that's what you end up wanting to do from Texas, then fine. If you think he's the best player on the board, go get him, right? Because I think
in the first round.
Yeah, I think so. If he's your best player, he's been mocked to the Bucs, including the buccaneers.com own mock draft. They've mocked Golden to the Bucs at 19 several times.
Yeah.
Which I'm not a fan of Texas wide receivers. I think they're really fast, but that's really all they got. I thought Xavier Worthy in Kansas City was almost a disappointment last year.
I kind of agree.
I'm just not impressed. But I think if you've got a really, say it's not Golden, if you've got a really good offensive player at 19, that he's the best player on your board, go get him. Make your team better. Figure that out later, because I think this is an extremely deep draft with corners and linebackers. And I think you could get a starter in round 2 at 53. I think you can almost get a starter at number 84 overall in round 3. So, just with the first round for me, just get the best possible player you can, and go from there.
Well, you've got, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, almost 8 players, 8 edge rushers with first round grades for most of the draft pundits.
Yeah.
And of the ones I've watched, Ezeraku from Boston College, Scotty Reynolds loves him. I went and watched I remember him just destroying Florida State, but then again, who didn't? But that guy stood out big time. And then when I dug into some of his tape, he's outstanding, and he's going to be there. He's going to be there at 19. He might even be there in the second round, but I wouldn't take it. I just think that the need is so big. And, with Hassan Reddick, you just, it's a 1-year deal. So you need to draft for the future anyway. Again, to me, this is just like Graham Barton. This is your biggest need. This is your biggest need. And you're going to have an opportunity to draft a kid. Remember, Graham Barton, his overall rank was up in the early teens, and they got him at 23.
Mm-hmm.
So and he showed how good he's going to be. I think he's going to be an all-pro. Yep. And when the draft meets your needs, when it comes to you like that, you can't shy away. Don't overthink it. Yep. Don't overthink it. Other than Shamar Stewart, sorry, Aggie man.
That's fine. I don't really get it either. That's fine.
James Pierce Jr., 6'5", 245 from Tennessee. That he's a monster. He's a monster. He would really fit well in this defense. Mike Green, Michael Williams from Georgia, 6'5", 260. That has a first round grade. Ezeraku, Scorton from Texas A&M. Nick Scorton. Mm-hmm. How do you pronounce that?
Scorton. Mm-hmm.
Scorton. Yeah. Who actually had some production. There's just a lot of good guys, and hopefully those quarterbacks get overdrafted. Hopefully they take Shedeur Sanders, they take Jackson Dart. Wow, that guy's going to be a first round pick. It's laughable. It's laughable.
You know what? Here's my hot take of the draft. I think Jackson Dart's going to be better than Shedeur Sanders in the NFL.
I don't.
There you go.
Listen,
I said it.
Sometimes it's hard to. I disagree. I don't think either one of them are going to be great, but I think Shedeur has a much better chance. I think Shedeur has a much. I was listening to Dion, talk about how there's an argument of whether Shedeur Sanders jersey should be retired. First of all, Dion, those conversations are for years down the road. Nobody's retired. Maybe I haven't seen it, but are people retiring numbers like the year before the kid even gets drafted?
That's so ridiculous.
Aren't these like, let's get a little bit of historical perspective on it first, and then let's decide what we should do. There's no hurry and then Dion's there. Well, if his name wasn't Sanders, we wouldn't even be debating this. Well, I don't think it's about I think, because to his point, he's right. He's done things there that haven't been done in a long time, but they've been done before. It's like these retired numbers are for historical significance. So let's just wait a little bit and then we'll decide. There's shouldn't be any hurry. But I don't have to think having the last name Sanders has only been a blessing for this kid. It's not been a curse. At least I don't think. in the long run. So will he be, if he gets in a good situation, if he falls in the draft and falls to a good offensive-minded head coach who's good at developing quarterbacks, I think he's got a chance because he does process information quickly. He's got I think he throws a great deep ball. It's not an overwhelming arm talent, but it's good enough for the NFL because he makes quick decisions. He reads well. He certainly moves well and throws well off platform. He does a lot of things really, really well. I think he's going to be a pretty good quarterback in the NFL. Is he going to be a transcendent game changer? Is he going to be a Joe Burrow? No, he's not. I don't think he's in that category. I don't think he's going to be an upper tier quarterback, but I certainly think he could be a Kirk Cousins, who's had a damn good career. He's had a damn good career in this league. So, and made a hell of a lot of money. So,
some people call it stealing.
I think that's beyond the pale. Yeah, absolutely.
There's a lot of those guys out there, though.
Absolutely. So I think obviously edge rusher is a huge part of it. And I think corner. I think corner is something. If they went corner in the first round, it would not bother me. Number one, and but I think to your point, corner's pretty deep. I think you can get a pretty damn good corner in the second and third round. An Azariah Thomas from Florida State, who, by the way, put up a very heartfelt message about the tragedies that happened yesterday. I saw that on Twitter. Azariah Thomas, 6'2", 200 pounds. He's the long type corner. Jamel Dean, Zion McCullum type corner that Bowles absolutely loves. Hard to evaluate his tape from last year much more because the defense was such a disaster. But the kid's got skills. He's ranked as the 43rd best player, the seventh best corner in the draft. I think it's a depth. I wouldn't mind seeing him on the Bucs roster. Trey Amos from Ole Miss, Morrison from Notre Dame, Benjamin Morrison, 6'2", 193. I always looked at Will Johnson from Michigan is ranked as the 23rd best player by CBS Sports, second best corner in the draft, 6'2", 200. If they're not in love with, if there's a run on edge rushers and he's there, I think that's a pick you make. So
right.
I'll
tell you how deep. Go ahead. So I think corner is so deep. I've got one of the guys that I've got targeted for the Bucs in the third round. It's a guy out of Cal, Noel Williams. I don't know if you're familiar with him. He's not super high up on everybody's draft boards, but if he is the epitome, the definition of a ball hawk, which is what the Bucs are targeting per Bowles' own words at the combine. If there's an NFL comparison for him, I don't know how familiar you are with Kobe Bryant up in Seattle. I think he played collegiately at Cincinnati, but this guy, 6 feet, 200 pounds. He's quick. What were his 40 times? 4.5 40. He played at the Senior Bowl and he impressed everybody. And he's a guy that's going to be available. Definitely, I think he'll be available in the third round because
what's the name again?
Noel Williams, Nohl Williams. He's out of Cal. It's a California kid.
I remember when we beat Cal, when FSU beat Cal, one of our 2 wins.
Right.
I remember him. Yeah, we talked a little bit about him in that game as well. So, I think corner, inside linebacker.
7 interceptions this year. So, that's what you want.
That's what you want. You want a guy, and that production matters to me. That production matters to me. It guys that, a lot of great corners won't get tried a lot. I get it. That's part of it. But the good ones make the best of their opportunities and catch the football and have instincts to catch the football and go get it. So, and that's something definitely that the Bucs need drastically. If they go anywhere on offense, it's absolutely going to be wide receiver. No question about it. And
Williams is a 5-year starter too. So you have experience on the field.
Yeah, I love
he played
that.
at UNLV before Cal. So
yeah, absolutely love that. Production, experience, that all matters. All right, let's see what our esteemed commenters have to say today. Shedeur Sanders getting his jersey retired before Cordell Stewart. Yeah, exactly. To my point. A guy that took you, to national championship game. I mean, really? Wasn't Cordell Stewart? Didn't he take him to the national championship game in Miami?
Slash did he? I mean, I remember him playing, obviously, before he went to Pittsburgh.
Yeah. Nathan Elliott says Tim Ham just nailed it. Dart will be on target while Sanders flop. Listen, I don't think I totally disagree with you guys. Jackson Dart, when I watch him play, like Florida destroyed him. When he played against great competition, he was not great. He doesn't process fast enough for me. It's one read and run type of guy. And Lane Kiffin Lane Kiffin made him a lot better than he actually is. And I don't know. I'm not a Jackson Dart fan. Nathan Elliott says Matthew Golden has risen through the draft rank. McMillan is another. If they can't stop, defense can miss some stop. Listen, the offense was ranked fourth in the league last year. Everybody is back. You have a Super Bowl window. As much as I would love to get a wide receiver, I can get one next year. I need an edge rusher. I need an inside linebacker. I need a corner. I need the defense. Passing defense was ranked 29th, and we know what a sieve it was. I don't need the numbers to tell me that. We can't cover, and we can't rush.
Yeah.
And our linebackers can't cover anybody either. These needs are drastic and obvious, and there's a lot of good players in this draft that can help us out. So, Christopher Cole says James Pierce Jr. is the second best pure edge. I'm not going to disagree with that. I mean, I love him. It's just a matter of who will be there. Nathan says, I was told the Bucs lost interest in Green because of the off-the-field problems with women. Hey, that makes sense to me. But the thing about Green is when you bring him into there, I've read some reports. I've not met the man, but I've read some reports that he has matured in his later years, so to speak. He's taking things a lot more seriously. We understand what those issues were. Kids make mistakes, and you're coming into a locker room where none of that nonsense is going to be tolerated. He's going
with adults. He's going to be playing with adults now, not other kids.
Lots of great mentors and leaders in there that can take him under his wing. Listen, I'm not a big proponent of going after guys like that, but I also know that, to your point, the Warren Sapps of the world and others that had a lot of those, question marks. Some have turned out to be really, really good players, and his talent is undeniable. But again, I think it's up to the organization. They're the ones who did the interviews. They're the ones that did the background checks. I'm not privy to any of that. So if they take him, I'm gonna feel good that they've done their due diligence on him. And if they don't, then I'm gonna feel good that they did their due diligence on him. So
yeah, and a lot of times, these with the as much money as these organizations spend on researching these draft picks, and as much time as they especially on the high draft picks, if a guy like Mike Green's got this questionable background, especially with violence and women involved, if they do their research and they see none of that is going to be a concern, and they still decide not to draft him, that could be because they just didn't like his interview and they didn't like him. Right. It has nothing to do with his background, and that I think sometimes that comes into play too. And then you just say, well, they didn't draft him probably because of his background questions. Well, no, maybe they didn't care about that. They just didn't like the interview, right? They just didn't like him, and that's a possibility too.
So MB King, good morning to you. I'm not sure I've seen you in there.
Oh, wow.
Bucks 17. So do you guys like Bucks taking Starks, or I'm out of worry in round one? I know you're high on the safety list, and it's I guess you could say it's an open spot, but I would say the importance level of safety, and remember, we're paying Antoine Winfield Jr. to be the best safety in the game. So I think I would like to see us draft one, absolutely, but not in the first round. Edge would have much more impact this year. Inside linebacker would have much more impact, and corner would have much more impact. And if you draft the corner, Tyke Smith can move to safety, and whether you draft that as a nickel or what have you. They've got some experienced guys coming back as well. So I just don't think it's as impactful a need right now. And if you're gonna have, you got to trust that Antoine Winfield Jr. is going to return to being the best or top 5 safety in the game. So
After making all that money.
Right, exactly. And Tyke Smith as well. So while I like those players, MB, King Buck 17, and not in the first round. Not in the first round. But again, if there's a run on edge and the corners that are left are not, of first round quality, and you take a guy like that, good players, I'm okay with it. That would tell me that the draft didn't come to you the way you'd hoped it did. And that's okay too. Don't force it. Do not force it. Don't overdraft guys. But when you got 8 edge rushers with first round grades, it's going to be hard to.
Yeah, you don't have to overdraft in this selection year at all.
He likes all these guys I can't pronounce. Omana Malin, I can't pronounce him. Oladeo, Braden Swinson on day 2.
All those guys are day 2 guys. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's where. Boy, Jason has really made some hay in that those day 2 picks. And that's why this roster is as good as it is right now. Because you got guys like, Cade Otton that are producing at a high level. Bucky Irving producing at a high level. Jalen McMillan producing at a high level. Chris Godwin producing at a high, these third round, second and third day picks that have been, really, really good for the Buccaneers. And, and some of them still on their rookie contracts, so you can go overpay in free agency if you need to,
which he hasn't done yet.
Right?
I don't think he's had to go do that yet.
Well, look at what they got Hassan Reddick for.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
I mean, $14 million 1 year, and look at what some of these other premier pass rushers in his league in terms of production are getting. They're making $34-36 million a year.
Yeah,
I mean. God, Reddick is a steal. Yeah. Douglas Bautista says 620 making a big deal about Yankees fans last night at GSF. This happens every time. When I lived in Hartford, the Bruins fans invaded the Whalers' home ice. Wasn't that the mall? You were going to the mall, Douglas. Yeah.
Nice.
In LA, the Red Sox fans. Look,
love the old Whalers, man.
I mean, what are we doing here? Like this is new? It happens at Tropicana Field because
happens everywhere.
Our boy Stu prices his own fans out of the market. Those Yankee fans came in and bought those single game tickets at full price, probably $120 for lower level seats that normally go for $30. So they came in because it was a one-off. They're only buying tickets for one series. They just want to see their Yankees, right? And they paid the money, and Rays fans were priced. I don't think 620 was blaming Stu Sternberg. I guarantee you that. But
they're probably blaming the fans.
Of course they are.
Yeah.
They're the Rays station. That's why this is an independent station. This is an independent outfit. We're not beholden to any corporate whatsoever. So,
and look, I can tell you who was that? I forgot who made that comment, sir.
Douglas Batista.
I can tell you that happens as you've probably know. You've been around different places. Here in Dallas, that happens. You know what? Cowboys are one of the best traveling road teams in the league. But when they play the Steelers here at AT&T, I guarantee you it's 60% Steelers fans. Yeah. When the 49ers come here, it's 60 to 70% 49ers fans. And this is the Cowboys, right, that we're talking about. So, and same thing at the Rangers games. If the Bo Sox come here, it's all freaking Sox fans, and I hate it, but it is what it is. It's everywhere.
But just remember how this went down. All these single game tickets were priced at a certain level, and now some of the other games the prices have come down because those are secondary. Yeah, those are secondary websites where there's their ticket brokers that are making big money on Yankees series, Red Sox series. But they put the prices at a certain point. And, like they did at Tropicana Field, those were always premium games, right? Because it was going to make the money off the Yankees fans. And Rays fans were going to go, you know what? I'm not going to go because it's double, triple the normal price. I'll save my money for another series, and I don't want to go anyway with all those Yankee fans up my ass.
Right.
So, that's just the way it is. And so what? I mean, I think it just adds to the atmosphere.
And think about it too from a Yankees fan standpoint. Dude, we get to go watch our team at our practice facility in a regular season game here in Tampa. Like, holy crap, that's for Yankees fans, that's a special treat, right? So you're going to get more people, more of the Yankees fans, I think, taking advantage of that at Steinbrenner Field than you would even if they were, just a normal series at the Trop.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's part of what happens. It happens at Amalie Arena. There was Toronto fans out the yin yang the other day because Lightning fans were selling their tickets to buy playoff tickets, and I'm okay with that.
Sure.
I'm okay with that because they're expensive, and it costs a lot of money, and Lightning fans invest a lot into it. So if I could sell a couple of prime preseason or regular season games to pay for my playoff tickets, that sounds like a pretty good idea to me.
Yeah.
So in essence, the Toronto fans are paying double, triple the price for the ticket from the season ticket holder, and allows us to fill the stadium for the playoffs. So thank you, Toronto fans.
Yeah.
Coming in for that. Nathan Elliott, he wants a defensive tackle so bad. Said 3 interior linemen must pressure the quarterback. That frees up outside linebackers to feast. That's why Nacho, Vea, and Sue let JPP and Shaq feast. I agree with you. Absolutely, 100%. But we have a first-round pick invested in Kalijah Cansey and a first-round pick and a lot of money invested in Vita Vea. So you got to spread it out. Those guys, I mean, what are you going to draft a first-round pick to be a backup? I know he'll be in the rotation, but he's not going to be playing 70, 80% of the snaps. Wouldn't you rather draft an edge rusher who's going to be playing 70, 80% of the snaps? Now, I know you got Hassan Reddick and you got Yaya Diaby, so you've got a couple of starters there, but you're also drafting for needs down the road. Yeah, we do have to replace Vita Vea. No question about it. But is this a draft that's deep in first-round defensive tackles? No, it's not. So you're going to have to probably reach a defensive tackle in the first round. Now, if we get one in the second or third, I'm fine with that. You can't have enough good defensive tackles. But I don't necessarily think with the first round I'm going defensive tackle. Because I don't think there's enough good ones there.
Yeah. Edge is much deeper.
John Hill says Darian Porter, ISU, corner 6'3", 33-inch arm, 4'3", 40-yard dash. Sounds good to me. Can he play football? Yes, he can.
Not make him a good boxer.
Yeah. What else we got here on the draft? Or not. Michael LaRue says former Tennessee quarterback Nico Iamaleava turned down $5 million from the Vols because he wanted $4 million. He actually got 1.75 from UCLA. And then, yes, it'll be even less with taxes. Yeah, you got to pay taxes on that too, kid. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That dude, and I'm glad it happened. We talked about this a little bit yesterday. He's going to be the cautionary tale for the rest of the players coming behind him don't just look for the money. And there are going to be teams that say, look, this is your contract. You're not getting any more. So stick and stay. It'll be a lot better for you. Stick and stay.
And again, like we touched on yesterday, at some point the kids got to be held accountable for their contract. Yeah. Yes. And right now they're not.
Yeah. And you want to hold out for the playoff game. That, that's I just don't get that whatsoever.
No, I don't understand. It's bad advice from his dad.
Yeah. All right, we'll take our second break. We'll come back on the other side, talk a little hockey. Ashley was very upset this morning. She's like, oh, my God, the Rangers killed the Lightning last night. What's going on? I'm like, meaningless game, honey. Meaningless game. Means absolutely nothing. So we'll talk a little bit about that and also moving forward in the playoffs. The schedule is out. Does it favor the Panthers? I think it does. We'll tell you why. We are brought to you by the great folks at Riveters. Head on out to Riveters tonight if you want to go to the game. If you're going to the Yankees-Rays game, go ahead, stop in before, stop in after. You can park there for free. have a nice little meal, and then Uber or walk to the game. Remember, happy hour prices are going on, so you can get $3 beers, $5 wells, and, of course, all the great food as well. So you have to pay $20 at the game for a beer. So pregame at Riveters, and have a great time, and head on over. You just want to stay and watch the game there. They've got all the great TVs. You can watch multiple games there if you like, and enjoy yourself at Riveters, because it is Friday happy hour, and its staff is amazing. So go see them. Tell them JP sent you. Back in 3. Stay with us.
Hey, JP here for my concierge medical professional, Chris Lugo, PA. You've heard him on the show for a couple of years, where he shares invaluable medical, nutritional, and supplement advice. With Chris, it's like having a medical provider as your best friend. What I love about this concierge service is the convenience and support he offers. I can text or call him 24/7 with any questions or concerns, and he'll promptly call in a prescription if needed. No office visits or copays required. It gives me peace of mind knowing I have someone genuinely invested in my health, not just focused on insurance profits. And the best part, the Bay Area Modern Medical Center's personal concierge service is more affordable than you might think. Don't let insurance companies dictate your health care. Take control of your health and wellness today. Visit BAMMC.com for more information and to schedule your initial free consultation. Empower yourself and take charge of your personal health with BAMMC.com. Diamond Days are back at the Golden Diamond Source, Tampa Bay's largest jewelry superstore. You know, I love Diamond Days because right now you can get up to 20% off all the diamonds in the inventory, including April's birthstone. Plus, you can take advantage of 0% financing for up to 5 years. This means that if you finance $5,000, your monthly payment would only be $83. Best of all, your Golden Diamond Source diamond never loses its value. And listen up, all soon-to-be newlyweds, here's your chance to win a $2,500 shopping spree at the Golden Diamond Source, along with a wedding cake for up to 100 guests, created by the renowned celebrity chef, the Cake Girl, as seen on the Today Show. Entering is easy. Simply visit the Golden Diamond Source on Omerton Road for your chance to win big. If you want your special someone to say yes, make sure it's a Golden Diamond Source diamond. Visit us at 3800 Omerton Road in Clearwater. JP here for the Jeeves Law Group and my man Scott Jeeves, who lives right here and has long been a highly respected member of our community. He's a proud sponsor of the Tampa Riverwalk. Jeeves Law Group is also a proud sponsor of our Grand Central District in St. Pete and has neighborhood events throughout the year. He has an office on Central Avenue in St. Pete and one on South Howard in Tampa. You can't get more local than that. So when you need an attorney, are you going to hire some huge firm that advertises all over the state, or the one that supports your favorite sports show? It's the Jeeves Law Group. We're local, we're trusted, and we get results. For personal injury and personal attention, call us for a free case evaluation. That's 8889-JEEVES. That's 8889-JEEVES. Hey, Tampa Bay, it's time to get your AC unit ready for summer. And here at Third Generation Plumbing and Mechanical, we recommend getting ahead of the game, keeping your family cool before the hot summer months with one of our maintenance agreements in the hopes of avoiding the dreaded emergency service call. Our maintenance agreements include, we'll test the electrical components, check and tighten high and low voltage wire connections. We'll check the refrigerant for manufacturer's performance levels, test thermostats, calibrate if needed, clean the evaporator coil and condenser coil, and clear and treat the drain line and drain pans. Just call us at 813-961-8024 for the special rates, and a human will actually answer. 813-961-8024, or go to thirdgenerationplumbing.com.
Let's go.
Right now, back to the show on FanStream Sports.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show as we roll on this Friday. How's the audio and the video? I switched over, Kenny. Is it better?
Yeah, I was getting an echo during the break for some reason. I'm not sure why.
Are we getting one now?
No, I don't hear it now.
Yeah, I think I turned off the other thing. So
Okay.
producing on the air is what we do best
That's
here
what we do.
at the JP Peterson Show. Thank you so much for joining us. We're brought to you by the great folks at On-Site Construction and Restoration. You look at build a new home. You know, there's a lot of inventory out there for lots in South Tampa. I was talking to Jason Manecki the other day, a local realtor, former Buccaneer. He's like, yeah, you can get some lots for cheaper now that there's some FEMA issues going on. So if you want to buy a lot now and have someone build your house from scratch, On-Site is fantastic for this. They have great experience. Check out their website, onsiteconstructionfl.com, and there's lots of great pictures there of their work. They do fantastic work. They have great designers as well, so you can work with them, design your own home, and then know that it's going to be finished on time and on budget, and you're going to have a great experience. Go read all the 5-star Google reviews. Finding a good contractor is very, very difficult. So you want to find someone that's been in the marketplace. You can talk to other folks that have worked with them, get the reviews, and make sure, because obviously this is a huge, huge decision. So onsiteconstructionfl.com, that's the website. Go check it out, and you'll be very pleased with not only restoration work, but if you want to do some add-ons or build from scratch, they are the folks. Commercial or residential, they do it all. All right. I'm going to do a little bit of, before we get back to, well, actually, let's go ahead and do this since we were talking baseball. Yankees tickets available after 7:30 yesterday, says B. No good in 11,000 seat stadium, of course. $400 a ticket is insane. Is that what the tickets were on the secondary market last night? $400?
Yeah, I bet.
Holy shiz bang.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
For a baseball game?
For a regular season baseball game.
Wow, that's what they were? You know, they did drop some $20 tickets for this, but I'm sure they went pretty fast. He says the ticket prices drop right up until game time, so Stu not getting the revenue he wants. See, I think most of those tickets were bought up before the season as season tickets at the inflated prices. So that's the revenue that goes to the team. Now, if they are resold on Ticketmaster, I think they get a cut of the revenue of that as well. So that's why they try to control all the tickets through the ballpark app. Because I don't know. I'm not exactly sure, but if you buy them on StubHub and you don't go through the ballpark app, I'm not sure how all that works. I know for some of these other games, they've been much less expensive on the ballpark app. I mean, on some of the other secondary apps. So
JP, I'm a big proponent, and usually when I'm trying to buy tickets, I think I've said on here before, and they're not a sponsor, but I'm still touting them. The SeatGeek app. That's usually where I get my tickets. And right now I'm looking at tonight's game between the Yankees and the Rays at Steinbrenner Field, 7:05 p.m. first pitch. Standing room only tickets, $65 each. I can get, and this is for 2 tickets. I just said I needed 2. Left field upper, $87 a piece. Here's 2 for $83 a piece. If you want to go to section 205, which is their kind of second level behind first base,
still great seats.
$98 a piece. 210 a little bit farther down, $93 a piece.
So yeah, they're not $400.
Yeah, you can
obviously.
I mean, to me, $100 for section 203. Let's see if we get lower level. Here's cheapest lower level seat.
It's all lower level, bro. There is no upper level.
Well, that's right, but I'm talking about the
where the divide is. Yeah,
the divide. Yeah. So the section 100, which is the first section, we'll call it that.
Right. Yeah.
102 is they're $104 a piece.
I mean, for a Yankees Rays game in a small stadium,
that's not bad.
That's not bad. I mean, it's not. It is bad. There's baseball tickets. You know, come on, they should be box seats. I mean, I get it. The box seats are going to be expensive, but anyway, there's going to be lots of Yankees fans there. But to me, from what I could hear from the broadcast, it seemed like half and half, right? And that's I know some of the players commented about it, but it is what it is. I mean, at this point, if they're going to price out the Rays fans, and listen, Rays fans, they have every right to buy them as well. But I understand what they're going to do. They're going to wait till these other series, and maybe a lot of them don't want to go when there's a lot of Yankee fans around. I kind of enjoy it, because if you win the game, it's fun. Now,
way more fun when you win, yeah.
When you have the bases loaded 7 times and can't score, that sucks. I mean, Taylor Walls comes up with the bases loaded 3 times last night, and he gets 1 sacrifice fly and hits into a double play and makes another out. So he makes 4 outs in 3 plate appearances with the bases loaded. I mean, they had 15 runners on base last night between hits and walks, and they scored 3 runs. Caminero goes oppo, and I tell you what, he's already kind of mastered that. You throw a pitch elevated at all on the outside half, he's got those quick hands, and he's just waiting, putting it up in the jet stream, and it's gone. Man, he's going to have a freaking monster season. By the end of the year, if he's not close to 40 or over 40, I'll be shocked. But this offense in general had a couple of good games, and then the last 3 games, they're back to 7 runs in 3 games. And, Taylor Walls is killing them. God bless my Seminole, but he's killing them with his 177 average or whatever the hell it is. And he always seems to come up in those spots. And again, you could be hopeful, but when you get to the postseason and you face the best pitching, and look at every time the Rays have faced a good pitcher, they have not, or a pitcher that's just got good stuff that night. And you could tell when pitchers got their best stuff. Like Buehler the other night had some pretty good stuff. And he's been good at times. His ERA this year isn't great, but once you see him dealing, Soriano the other night, his stuff was good, and you're like, that's going to be a long night for the Rays. When they face a quality pitcher, and they really didn't last night, to be quite honest. I mean, Brian Yarborough, I'm not going to say is a quality. He's not. He's okay. He's average to below average at best, and they couldn't get the big knocks off him either. So and they gave up. And I thought the Bradley was good last night. Typical Taj Bradley. The stuff looks good, but he just couldn't get the results. And once he gets more consistent, he doesn't make the big pitches at the time he needs to make the big pitches, it seems. Yeah. And every bad bounce goes against him. And I'm not worried about him. He's got great stuff. All that stuff will just come with experience. So
the 4 walks didn't help.
No.
Those were untimely walks. I mean, they all
very untimely. Very untimely. But again, the offense, you're just 3 runs is not going to get it, especially when you're playing the Yankees. You can't rely on having shutdown pitching every single night, and even if you're the Rays. So, and when you look at these pitching matchups for the Rays, I mean, you look at it from the start, they've got a great advantage. I mean, some of these pitchers that the Yankees are throwing out there, I had the pitching lineups coming up, but I have misplaced them. I think Pepio's going tonight.
Tonight says it's Rasmussen.
Rasmussen tonight. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Rasmussen tonight. And he's been really good. 0.60 ERA. Is that good?
It's pretty good.
I think that's pretty good. So get off to a good start offensively tonight and see who's going for the Yanks tonight.
Roden.
No, and he's not pitched well this year, right?
5.48 ERA.
Yeah.
He's 1-3.
1-3. Yeah. So look, it's a good opportunity. The pitching matchups are in your favor. Go get a W. And obviously these are huge games, but the Rays have now lost 3 in a row. And they just, if I'm looking at this team right now through 3 weeks, month of, you say offense, exactly what we thought. Offense, I'll give it a D, maybe even a D minus.
Yeah.
Pitching, an A minus. And that's what this team is. And that equals about a C, right? As far as I know, it equals about a C. And that's what this team is, pretty average. Had a chance to be, they have a chance to be really good if they can find some offense. Now, Ha-Seong Kim's coming back. If he came up with the bases loaded 3 times last night, would he have more to show for it than Taylor Walls? I'd have to say that's a yes. That's a strong yes. Yeah. So that's going to be a big help for this team to have a shortstop that can actually hit. Caminero is going to be, I think he's going to be consistently good all year long. You got to have more from Brandon Lau. You got to get a hell of a lot more from Josh Lowe if he ever gets back into the mix. And Palacios in his first game last night had 3 hits. That's great, but he's not going to be a power guy. You need some pop in this lineup. And Aranda's been fantastic, but he doesn't get to play against left-handers ever, which is crazy to me. So they got to figure that out offensively, and that's going to be the challenge all season long. And especially against teams like the Yankees. So, all All right. What else we got going? We got any more baseball comments we can get to before we move on to the hockey? Savannah Bananas was live on free YouTube yesterday. Peace.
No, they're free. They're free every game.
Yeah. Are they on YouTube?
On YouTube, yeah.
Yeah.
Just like we are.
He says, Lapa, the trolling Stu every day. Have to think if Sale was close, he would keep his mouth shut and let the sale happen. He's in a position to know about a sale. He knows what I know. And right now it's a lot in the, by the way, there was a Tampa Bay Business Journal yesterday did a story. And they said they had some sources close to the negotiations, and they reported the same thing that we've been reporting. And B thinks I'm crazy for saying this, but yes, they've been. Stu wants $2 billion for a team that's worth 1.25. So all you people that are like, well, what's the sale? I thought the sale was imminent. Well, the sale would have been imminent for anybody that would accept a reasonable deal. But here we are, Stu entrenched. For what reason, I don't know. Just to me, I mean, maybe Stu feels like if he sells the team, he becomes completely irrelevant. You're not an owner anymore. Nobody cares about you. Nobody's writing about you. Nobody cares what your favorite songs are or what you eat. So maybe that's why he doesn't want to sell. I don't know, but Major League Baseball needs to get off their ass and make him sell the damn team, because everything's being held up by him and he has no options left. And I guess at some point he'll realize that and he'll sell the team. And until that happens, I don't have control over that. I mean, I think it was reasonable for the people who I was talking to say, hey, look, we're offering him way more than he wants. MLB wants him to sell the team now. So, yeah, I think we're close. I think we're going to get close. But if you have someone as unreasonable as this that wants $2 billion for something that's worth 1.25, it seems like we're at an impasse. And even if you're offering 1.6, which I think is obviously well above what it's worth, that should be a deal that could get done. But, you also remember that Stu already turned down 1.8. So he's like, I ain't taking 1.6 when I already turned down 1.8. Maybe you shouldn't have turned down the 1.8. Maybe the 1.8 will come back. I don't know, but
man, I can't imagine.
Yeah, I mean, is baseball trending in the direction where franchises are worth more? I mean, it's worth what someone's willing to pay, right? It's worth, but the people that are putting this money up, they certainly have a ton of money and they can do it.
Yeah.
It's funny. I have to be careful about how I say this. I got a text the other day from someone who basically, I won't be too detailed about it, said, look, I've got a couple of friends that are worth a ton of money, like a ton of money. And they want to get involved in this race bidding war or whatever's going on. Is there any way you could facilitate getting me with the right group? And I'm like, okay, well,
JP's going to broker the sell of the team.
What's my cut? That was my first question. What's my cut? No, that was not my first question. But my point was I'm not going to go to my contact and say, hey, I got a couple of rich guys. You want to talk to them? Like, that's not going to work. I need names. I need names of who these people are. They need to be vetted before I'm going to be able to put them, I'm not, somewhat vetted, right? Before I can go to my contact and say, hey, there's somebody interested. Otherwise, any Tom, Dick, and Harry can come, oh, I want to buy the Rays. So, yeah, but the point is, there's a lot of people out there with a lot of money that would like to become an owner of a baseball team, especially in the Tampa Bay area, with all that's, and this is what drives me crazy in MLB. We talked about our good friend Ryan Bass yesterday. We had a little back and forth on Twitter. Well, I did respond on Twitter, and then I took it down because I didn't want him to get upset about the remark I made about his lovely hair. We
just went off on him on the show yesterday.
We didn't go off on him. We were very respectful.
Well, the listeners did.
The listeners did. Yeah. The listeners did. Yeah. That's them.
That's not me.
By the way, I
But,
listened to that again last night and not the whole show, and I was in tears the entire show.
It was the whole show yesterday was pretty damn funny. I actually clipped out a bunch of the good stuff yesterday. I haven't posted it yet, but I should probably post it for your weekend du jour. If you missed the bird story,
yes, the ducks.
Oh God, hilarious. Anyway, so there's a lot of interest, and there's a lot of people that love this market that can get it done. It's like Lotfa continues to say on Twitter, Stu doesn't have the money. He doesn't have the money to get the deal done. Now, he says he has the money, but he doesn't have the money. If he had the money, he wouldn't have been out begging local investors to invest in the team to get it done. The reason he couldn't get any money is because all the investors know what I know. And what's been public, really, is that the mayor doesn't want to work with him in St. Pete. The county commission doesn't want to work with him. They've all been burned. The folks in Tampa don't want to work with him. They've been burned. And I saw, Mayor Castor talking to Stu the other day, and I wonder what was said in that exchange, except that, sorry, man, like, how can we work with you? You need to sell the team to someone. And I'm sure Mayor Castor is aware of the people that want to buy this team. If I know about it, I'm sure she does. If she needs to know, I'll give me a call, Mayor. We can talk confidentially. But I'm sure she knows. She knows people that I know. Hagan knows who they are. Major League Baseball knows who they are. They know this, and they're just like, okay, we know these people can get it done. We know they have the money to do a deal in Tampa. We know all this. So can you just please get out of the way? You've had your time. You've screwed it all up. You've been disingenuous on both sides of the bay. Just move on and let us get this done. So
let the fans enjoy their baseball.
Thank you. In
a nice stadium.
Yeah, let the other owners enjoy their $4.4 billion in expansion fee money.
Yeah.
Let the two new expansion. I mean, so think about this. We can even throw this on top of it. So the two expansion teams are waiting to get their teams. So whether it's all the people in Raleigh are waiting, all the people in Nashville are waiting, Portland, all the people in Tampa are waiting to get this done. All the people in St. Petersburg are waiting to redevelop the Trop site. I mean, everybody's waiting for one dude who's been all the owners are waiting to get their expansion money. All this stuff is just around one guy who won't sell the team for hundreds of millions more than it's actually worth.
Oops.
Insane. But at some point, you would think reasonable people will win. We'll see. All right, let's take another break. We'll come back and talk some hockey, shall we? Tito's going to join us, right? We're going to talk some draft.
What time did I say Tito was coming on?
11:30.
Well, then, yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Send him a link right now.
Let's do that. All right, quick break. We'll come back, talk a little draft from a fantasy perspective or just from a draft perspective, maybe a little bit more national. We've already kind of done the Bucs. So what's going to happen in those top picks, which I think are going to be fascinating, where the quarterback's going to go. It always comes down to that. We're brought to you by Third Generation Plumbing and AC. They're doing a special right now, so give them a call, and they'll come out and they'll tune up your unit for summer, get it all ready, get you bikini waxed and all that good stuff. So get that deal. They'll do all the Freon, check your fluids, drain pipe, all that stuff, so you don't have to be calling in the middle of summer when your AC goes out. ThirdGenerationPlumbing.com is the website. Tell them JP sent you. Back in 3.
Hey, JP here for my concierge medical professional, Chris Lugo, PA. You've heard him on the show for a couple of years where he shares invaluable medical, nutritional, and supplement advice. With Chris, it's like having a medical provider as your best friend. What I love about this concierge service is the convenience and support he offers. I can text or call him 24/7 with any questions or concerns, and he'll promptly call in a prescription if needed. No office visits or copays required. It gives me peace of mind knowing I have someone genuinely invested in my health, not just focused on insurance profits. And the best part, the Bay Area Modern Medical Center's personal concierge service is more affordable than you might think. Don't let insurance companies dictate your health care. Take control of your health and wellness today. Visit BAMMC.com for more information and to schedule your initial free consultation. Empower yourself and take charge of your personal health with BAMMC.com. Diamond Days are back at the Golden Diamond Source, Tampa Bay's largest jewelry superstore. You know, I love Diamond Days because right now you can get up to 20% off all the diamonds in the inventory, including April's birthstone. Plus, you can take advantage of 0% financing for up to 5 years. This means that if you finance $5,000, your monthly payment would only be $83. Best of all, your Golden Diamond Source diamond never loses its value. And listen up, all soon-to-be newlyweds, here's your chance to win a $2,500 shopping spree at the Golden Diamond Source, along with a wedding cake for up to 100 guests, created by the renowned celebrity chef, The Cake Girl, as seen on the Today Show. Entering is easy. Simply visit the Golden Diamond Source on Omerton Road for your chance to win big. If you want your special someone to say yes, make sure it's a Golden Diamond Source diamond. Visit us at 3800 Omerton Road in Clearwater. JP here for the Jeeves Law Group and my man Scott Jeeves, who lives right here and has long been a highly respected member of our community. He's a proud sponsor of the Tampa Riverwalk. Jeeves Law Group is also a proud sponsor of our Grand Central District in St. Pete and has neighborhood events throughout the year. He has an office on Central Avenue in St. Pete and one on South Howard in Tampa. You can't get more local than that. So when you need an attorney, are you going to hire some huge firm that advertises all over the state or the one that supports your favorite sports show? It's the Jeeves Law Group. We're local, we're trusted, and we get results. For personal injury and personal attention, call us for a free case evaluation. That's 8889-JEEVES. That's 8889-JEEVES. Hey, Tampa Bay, it's time to get your AC unit ready for summer. And here at Third Generation Plumbing and Mechanical, we recommend getting ahead of the game, keeping your family cool before the hot summer months with one of our maintenance agreements in the hopes of avoiding the dreaded emergency service call. Our maintenance agreements include, we'll test the electrical components, check and tighten high and low voltage wire connections. We'll check the refrigerant for manufacturer's performance levels, test thermostats, calibrate if needed, clean the evaporator coil and condenser coil, and clear and treat the drain line and drain pans. Just call us at 813-961-8024 for the special rates, and a human will actually answer. 813-961-8024 or go to thirdgenerationplumbing.com.
Let's go. Right now, back to the show on FanStream Sports.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show as we roll on this Friday, brought to you by the great folks at Italiano Insurance. Get that insurance checkup, folks. They can save you hundreds, maybe thousands of dollars. I've heard so many stories from folks to come up to me at Rays games. Hey, Italiano saved me $2,000 on our homeowners insurance. Saved me on my auto insurance. Thanks for recommending them. They do all the work. You save all the money. Pretty simple stuff. 813-877-7799. Don't be calling the 1-800 numbers and trying to price all the auto insurance yourself. Just let them do it. And Charity will call you back within minutes and give you new quotes on other places. They might save you money. They might not. But at least they do the work and you'll find out. These days, it's not what you make. It's what you keep. So go to Italiano Insurance, 813-877-7799. Tito ready to go?
I think he's ready to go.
Okay. Well, let's bring him in. 97.1 The Fan in Columbus. Great Jeff Fitoff. Before we start with you, Tito, I forgot to mention this to our great audience out here. The game times for the Lightning Panthers best first round series in hockey, with apologies to the Cavs and the Avs and the Stars. We start next Tuesday. We thought it would be Easter Sunday. Thank God it's not. So I get to enjoy my Easter Sunday. Tuesday at 8:30, which is past your bedtime, Tito. And then we go Thursday at 6:30. So game one, Tuesday at Amalie Arena. Game two, Thursday at 6:30. So there you go, the first two. And then we go every other day. And hopefully we'll be done with these little kiddies. And I think it might go to game 7, though. So both teams are banged up. This gives them all some time to heal, which is great. Everybody will be at their best, rested and ready to go, and it's going to be fantastic. All right, let's talk some draft, shall we?
Well, first, I didn't get the memo, but I guess I'll
Oh, there we go.
Oh,
there we go.
There we go.
There we go.
Well, I can fix that. I mean, it was,
Okay. Well done. I was good. Old white guys in white
black
hats.
suits you better. Black
Yeah.
suits you better.
Yeah. All right. So we talked a lot about the Bucs draft earlier in the show. Let's zero in on what you think is going to happen in the upper, let's say the top 10 picks. I think there's a lot. I think more than ever, there's a lot of uncertainty on who's going where because of the quarterback situation. What's your take?
Yeah, I mean, Cam Ward's a lock. He's going number 1 in Tennessee. After that's
Right.
where it gets interesting. I don't see the Browns taking Sanders. I don't see the Giants taking Shadur Sanders. I think probably the floor for Sanders would be maybe 9 at New Orleans. If he gets past New Orleans, it's probably the Steelers at 21, I think is where his spot would be. But I think he's probably going in the top 10. I look for Janty, the running back from Boise State, to go in the top 10 as well. I think someone will jump on that, even though running backs typically don't get drafted that high. I think the Raiders or Bears will take him as far as that goes. The Patriots will look for an offensive lineman. I think the Browns will take Hunter at 2. I think that the Giants will take Abdul Carter at 3. And then we'll go from there on that. But look, there's a lot of intrigue because of this, because in my opinion, there's not even one surefire franchise quarterback in this draft. I would not race an early pick on a quarterback. I know people fall in love with Jackson Dart, but I don't think he's first round talent.
I don't either.
no.
There's a lot of if I'm in need of a quarterback, like say the Steelers or the Saints or somebody like that, I wait because there's about 8 guys that are similar. And you get with decent size, decent arm, that'll cost you a lot less. It won't set your draft back or your team back at all. So I would rather get somebody to serve as a year or two as an understudy. Kyle McCord, Quinn Ewers, Will Howard, all those kind of guys right there, all in that mix right there. And those are guys, I don't know which one will be the best, but I think one of them will be pretty good.
I would agree with that. And if I'm going through this list, obviously, if the Tennessee and Cam Ward, I think everybody's okay with that. Cleveland, if you're Cleveland, you can't take a quarter. All these teams, Cleveland, I would even put the Steelers in this mix. These teams have really well below average rosters, overall rosters. They've got to start building their team from the inside out, or taking impact players along the line, or at edge rushers positions, impact players. The best player available, because almost every one of these teams, I put the Steelers there, I put the Giants there, I put the Patriots there. There's so many of these teams, the Jets. It's just quarterback. Yeah, it's a need, but you're going to be reaching in this draft. It's going to be there's a pretty good chance, I'd say 80% chance that it's a wasted pick when there are players on there that are surefire starters. That are going to be starters for 5 to 8 years if you get them on a second contract. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, so it's which is why it surprised me. The Steelers went out and spent big on DK Metcalf. I know receivers have a longer life in the NFL than other positions, but they gave off the vibe like they think they're close. When you make that kind of an offer, that kind of pay that guy that kind of money, you're saying to the world, we think we're pretty close to being competitive. The Steelers defense is getting very old.
Yeah,
it's very old right now.
And their offensive line is not good.
Offensive line will be better, I think, this year. They had some injuries. They've invested the offensive line the last few drafts, but they had injuries last year. I think they'll be better this year, but they still don't have, they lost Najee Harris, who I didn't like, but was still a guy who got a ton of carries for them. And they need a running back. I think that you can't give the ball that much to Jalen Warren. I know they picked up Kenneth Gainwell, but he's not he's a third down back. But the Steelers, though, they've got to address the defense for sure. And, being held hostage, the Steelers are by Aaron Rodgers right now and what he's going to do. But, the Steelers, because of the Metcalf deal, they don't have a second round pick. So the Steelers, I think, will regret not having that second round pick. If they can find a way to get back into it and get a quarterback that will be there maybe in the second round, if they can find a way to do that, that would help them out, I think. But yes, there's a lot of those teams, though, that just the quarterback's not going to make the difference. JP, during the day when I have stupid crap on my phone all the time, YouTube stuff that I watch or listen to as background noise. And I stumbled on the 2004 NFL draft. And that was the year 6 Hurricanes went in the first round.
Yeah.
Okay. That was before the draft, it was announced that, the couple days before, Pat Tillman had passed away.
Right.
And then also Maurice Clarett that week, he and Mike Williams found out they weren't going to be eligible for the draft. all the Eli Manning drama.
Yeah.
Right.
And then,
Okay.
San Diego.
Which was fantastic. It's a great watch. But all that stuff going on, and then Manning goes 1 to the Chargers. He looks incredibly sad, probably the saddest number 1 overall pick in any draft. You had Rivers go 4. The trade happened. Roethlisberger goes 11. Those are 3 Hall of Fame quarterbacks. Although Manning for me is borderline, but he'll get in at some point.
Right.
In the top 11, which is nowhere near what we've got coming up this year. Like it's funny to think of it that way, but how much went on? Sean Taylor went 5th overall. What a great career!
Yeah.
Winslow, the soldier,
Kellen Winslow.
Yeah, if you want to visit Kellen Winslow, I'm not sure when visiting hours are, but it's like probably on a Sunday or something. Swing over and see him, but
you might find him in a parking lot somewhere. But don't get too close. Don't get too close.
Nope. Don't get too close to him. But like that
was the Roethlisberger draft, right?
Roethlisberger was 11. Yeah. Yep, Roethlisberger was 11. The Browns traded up 1 spot with Detroit, who didn't want a tight end, but the Browns traded up 1 spot and also gave up their 2nd round pick to take Winslow. And Winslow, and they passed on Roethlisberger.
Great pick.
God, we should just go back and watch the movie Draft Day, and that'll be the greatest Cleveland Browns story ever, and it will never happen because
you're right.
They never get anything right. That is just the worst franchise, worst run franchise, except for maybe the Giants. So I do want to dig in on the Giants because I still see a lot of mocks that have Shador going to the Giants.
Right.
CBS Sports has him going to the Giants, who already have
Russell Wilson,
Jameis and Russell.
Jameis Winston, yeah.
And Russell Wilson. So
and
if he
Tommy
goes,
DeVito, don't forget Tommy DeVito.
Tommy DeVito,
yes.
Right. So do you think there's any possibility that the Giants draft Shador Sanders?
I don't think so. I think they have
Would Abdul Carter on the board?
Yeah, I think they would take Carter at that point. I don't see if the Browns take Carter, I think they would take Hunter at 3. The Giants, when they signed Winston, I thought, okay, it's still a possibility. When they signed Wilson, though, also we know they're not long-term answers, but they're at least there for this year. The Giants, with that regime they've got, they're under a ton of fire. Like the head coach, Dabble, and the GM are both on thin ice, and they don't want to take somebody who's going to be a project. They want to get somebody right now who can impact this team, and that's not Shador Sanders in this case. It's Abdul Carter, it's Travis Hunter, somebody like that they can use, and I think that's the direction they will go because of that.
Do you think Travis Hunter can legitimately play both ways in the NFL?
I think
he's demanding.
I think he can. I don't think he can play 100% of the snaps or
like he wants to. Yeah, that's ridiculous.
I don't think he can, but I think he can play a lot of snaps. And they say right now he's the top defensive back, and he's also probably the top receiver on some people's eyes. But he wants to play both ways. No one's done it that way for a Bednarik probably for Philadelphia was the last guy to do it. But Sanders, Dion did a little bit. Woodson did a little bit as well. Charles Woodson here and there. It was mostly defense though, but then some offense. I think he'll play more offense than those guys played, and he will still play a lot of defensive back. But it's going to depend also on the team that gets him, what their needs are. The team of the Giants got him. Him and Malik Neighbors, that'd be a pretty good duo of receivers to throw to. But if you go to a team that's got huge holes in the defensive backfield, then it probably leans itself more to that.
I didn't watch a ton of film of Travis Hunter. I watched him play a lot.
Yeah,
and he makes plays all over the field offensively. But when you go back and watch him as a tactical route runner, he's not good. He's not a good. He catches everything that's thrown at him, but he's not a technical route runner at all. And so I question how much separation he's going to be able to get at the pro level early on. Yeah. I think he gets with a good coaching staff and learns. I don't think there's anything beyond his athletic ability. I just don't think he's put a lot into it because he didn't have to. His athletic ability, he gets open in that offense. It's so spread out. There's room to run, and you're mostly going up against guys that aren't playing in the NFL. So I'm a little concerned about his impact offensively. What do you think?
I'm a firm believer in the fact that if you look at his so-called offensive highlight tape, a lot of those amazing catches that he made didn't have to be that hard, but he made them look harder than they should have been because he was out of position a lot of times.
Right, exactly. Yeah. To my point, yeah.
Yeah, they're going to try to get the ball in space, and it'll be a lot of bubble screens, things like that. Pitching the ball in motion, things like that. Short passes, a quick throw, quick look, and see if he can do something. But yeah, I'm with you. He does have a lot of work to do there. And it is hard to see. It's hard to project how good he will be because you're right. Most of the time, he's out athleting the people guarding him. And that won't happen that often at the NFL because if he is that good, if they're worried about him that much, they're going to put a really good cover guy on him. And it'll be a lot harder for him to do it. Now, maybe that helps out Malik Neighbors if he goes there.
Yep.
You know, it kind of depends on that. But, yeah, I think there's still the jury's still out on that for sure. He can start right now as a defensive back in the NFL, be one of the best ones, I think. But they will try to work him in, one, to keep him happy, and two, because he can make plays when he does have the ball in his hands.
Yeah. Is there, from a fantasy perspective, you know, I drafted Jaden Daniels last year. Ching, ching.
Well done.
But is there a guy in the draft, whether it doesn't have to be a quarterback, that you would draft right away if you were drafting in a fantasy league in the first or second round?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to look at the running back. I love Hampton from North Carolina. I like him better than Janty. He's 6'1" or 6 feet tall, about 220 pounds, great speed. I like him quite a bit. He'll be one of the first players going off the board in the dynasty rookie drafts. But I like him. That's the guy I'm certainly looking at right there. And depending on the situation, you know, whoever Dallas takes at running back, you know, if they take one of the Ohio State guys, they take somebody else. Whoever Dallas takes, I think is going to get a ton of work this year. Yeah. Dallas is going to try to run the ball quite a bit, and you know, Dallas has no problem running guys into the ground like they did with Zeke Elliott. So that's like I'm definitely looking at that situation as well to see who ends up there. You know, and then you got the tight ends with Loveland and Warren. They're both really good too. We saw last year you can have guys come in as a tight end and make a big impact. The last couple of years that's happened, but so those are guys I'm also watching. Tight end's always if you can get a rookie tight end and not spend high draft capital on like a Kelsey or a Kittle or a Mark Andrews, somebody like that, that also helps you out.
Who do you think the Bucs take at 19? Who do you have mocking there?
It's going to be defense. I have a hard time mocking just because I don't know what trades we made, but like they're going to go with probably, I guess, whoever the best linebacker on the board is probably who they would go with, I would think, unless there's a really good edge rusher. If Stewart's there, maybe from A&M, an edge rusher there, I think I could see him going there. I'd be surprised if they go offense at all in that first round. I don't think there's any way they can do that. But although I wish they would get a stud receiver. I mean, the receiving class is so deep, they pick up a receiver in the second or third round and still really good.
They're going to get one there.
Who might be a first-round talent.
Yeah, they might get one there. All right, biggest surprise of the draft. What do you think? What's going to be the big story, the overall story? I say it's Shedeur Sanders dropping in the draft. That's going to be the big story because it certainly fits their narrative.
Kind of like we had Will Levis a couple of years ago. You know, fall out of the first round. Yeah, I can see that happening too.
I think what's going to happen is the same happened to Lamar Jackson. I think someone's going to trade up near the end of the first round and probably grab Jackson Dart. Or if Sanders happens to fall that far, they might be in love with him and do that one. Like I could see the Browns taking Hunter and then trading back up into the first round if Sanders falls and try to get in front of Pittsburgh to take Sanders. They get Sanders 100 again. The Browns have no problem trading draft capital. We know that. So I think the biggest surprise, you'll see somebody jump up from the second round into the first to make sure they take quarterback and get that fifth-year option on him, much like the Ravens did with Lamar Jackson. Worked out pretty well for them.
Yeah, I'm with Tito because the Browns have the first pick of the second round. They pick number 33 too. So they could easily take Hunter with number 2 and then jump ahead into the mid-first round using that number 33 pick and jump up and grab Sanders if he falls that far. And boom, then you've got both. And you're satisfying your fan base. Yep. You know, first of all, this fan base would go nuts if you get both of those guys.
Oh yeah.
And they need some good PR right now. There's no question. I think that's a high possibility.
It's such a mess with that franchise. And, you know, if you look at the players they passed on, the players they had and got rid of, the picks if you wrote a script, you said about the draft day thing. If you wrote a script and said, this is what's going to happen in this movie with this team, they would say, no way in hell. That's not true. You can't be that dumb.
And
somehow they have been.
The league does. Maybe they talk about it up where you are, Tito, up near in Columbus in Ohio, in the Ohio Valley there. But I don't think nationally we talk enough about Cleveland basically trading Baker Mayfield for Deshaun Watson and how that's worked out for him, right? Like,
oh yeah,
that's I'm sure it's a big deal locally, and I write about it a lot on Athlon for the Browns, but not enough people nationally really talk about that because that's basically what they did. They dumped Baker after they made the deal for Watson, or knowing they were going to make the deal for Watson. And that's worked out well for the Bucs, obviously.
Thank you.
They were negotiating against themselves. Yeah. Like they didn't, Watson said, I don't want to go to Cleveland. And then Cleveland said, we'll give you this much money. It's all guaranteed. Then Watt said, you know what? I'd love to be in Cleveland.
Because he was on his way to Atlanta.
Yeah, he's going to go to Atlanta, where his head it looked like. But then Cleveland steps up with that dumb offer. And really, what really bugs people about, first of all, Mayfield wanted to be a Brown.
Yeah.
He wanted to be in Cleveland. And the second part is, and this, anybody who's been a Browns fan for their entire life over the age of 45, what chaps them the most is the original Browns have now won a couple of Super Bowls.
Yeah.
And they're like one of the best run front offices in football. The Ravens
are.
God,
so, yeah. Right.
You know,
That's
it's like
so true.
The Browns lost the franchise that then went and has done all of this. You know, Ozzie Newsome was their director of player personnel of GM for so long. He got rings with the Ravens. Modell gets a title. All those things happen, which makes it. It's just. It's like if your wife was cheating on you with your brother, and then divorces you and marries him. You gotta go see him every year, a couple of times a year at family events and stuff like that. That's what it's like for the Browns fans.
Do you think they still think of it that way, though?
I think the older ones do. Yeah, I think the older ones do.
Oh, yeah. That first Super Bowl came really quick, too, after they moved to Baltimore. So, like, 5 years. So,
and I poke them all the time on the radio when I call the Ravens the original Browns. That really pisses people off, and people get very angry with me about that.
They hate that when I write it, too. Yeah, I get tweeted all the time. How dare you mention that?
Right.
I'll say that I would, if I was a general manager, especially in this draft, to me, the new normal is don't try and draft the quarterback. Go find one who you know can play in the league. Absolutely. Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, Geno Smith, Matthew Stafford, Jared Goff. These guys were having success with teams that did not draft them out of college. Go build your team. If you build a great roster like the Bucs have, you can bring in a Baker Mayfield who's going to have success. Because if you really look at it now, especially over the last 10 years, maybe even further, it's about the roster. It's about, to me, at one point it was like, oh, I got to draft Peyton Manning. It's going to make my team. And that worked. I get it. That worked. But it's so hard to find that guy. We want to say, oh, Cam Ward's going to be that guy. There's a 99% chance he's not going to win a Super Bowl because that's just the numbers. It's just, and even the guys that we think are going to be absolute, no doubt. Trevor Lawrence, oh my God, transcendent talent. This is going to be the greatest quarterback. He may win 7 Super Bowls. What are we doing? Yeah. Crappy franchise, crappy team. He may not be that good. So to me, stop chasing college quarterbacks. Build your roster. Don't give up all this draft capital to go get a top guy, a top quarterback. Just build your roster and go find one.
You've got to invest in the right coach, the right quarterback coach, right offensive coordinator. Because, I don't care if the Rams take a quarterback. I don't care who it is. I like the guy. Because
right.
Say they're 49ers. If the Niners take a quarterback, I don't care if it's the 7th round, like Purdy or something like that. If they grab somebody, I'm like, I believe this guy is going to be good. And there's other situations like the Lawrence thing. And they set Lawrence back also when they hired Urban Meyer. That was a lost year. And they're still recovering from that. They still are recovering from that.
Yeah, I agree.
And so's Lawrence. And I think the kicker still is too, probably from that kick. But kick to the leg or whatever it was. But that's what you got to invest, though, in that. Invest in your offensive line. Invest in your coaching staff and get the right guys in there. And if you have a good offensive line, it's going to make your quarterback better. It's going to make your running backs better, and it's going to change the way the franchise goes.
Well, look what Nick Caserio down in Houston did before they drafted C.J. Stroud. He went out and spent like $60 million that year on offensive linemen, bringing in guys and drafting and re-signing Laramie Tunsil at the time, and putting a decent to good offensive line in front of Stroud. Yeah. And I mean, he was a high draft pick, obviously, but he was good. And I think a lot of that offensive line success led to his success and where he is and where they are now. It can make all the difference for a young quarterback. You go out and get a young quarterback, put him on a crappy team with no protection.
You got no chance.
Nobody has a chance.
You got David Carr all over again. What happened with him in Houston? He got sacked like 80 times, whatever it was. It'll ruin the career of the guy, and you have a lot of money invested in that. Yeah. If I'm picking in the top 10, if I can find one team that likes Sanders, I'm trying to make a trade with them and get them to move up. Even if I were the Titans, even if somebody wants Cam Ward that much, I have no problem getting rid of Cam Ward, trading that draft pick, and get all kinds of other capital, build out from there. The Titans are not 1 year from competing.
Exactly.
Neither are the Browns, neither the Giants, none of those teams. So if you can get multiple picks out of that, call up Mike Ditka and see what he would give you for one of those picks, and see if you can get get robbery.
I mean, that's how the Cowboys built their team in the '90s. This was before free agency. But dude,
everybody has Cam Ward going to Tennessee, blah blah blah. If someone were to come to Tennessee and say, "I'll give you a 2 1s and a 2 for Cam Ward," they should take that in a heartbeat.
Absolutely.
In a heartbeat.
Yep, absolutely. Yep.
And go, continue to develop Will Levis, or go find another backup next year. But and use those picks to rebuild all the other holes you have on your team. Yeah. That's the way I would do it if I was a GM. It's not people. Listen, I know it's a quarterback-driven game, but I think we've seen that quarterbacks are more dependent on the people around them, than it is vice versa. Yeah. Listen, Pat Mahomes is gonna, he's gonna be really good wherever he goes, right? But even he has limitations behind a shitty offensive line, as we've seen, against the Bucs in the Super Bowl and against the Eagles in the Super Bowl. At some point, you can't coach your way out of that. You got to be able to block.
Mahomes is an incredible talent, no doubt about it. But how often we see this where it's the chicken or the egg thing? We did it all the time. Brady and Belichick. Did the Patriots to him because of Brady or Belichick? And then are the Chiefs when he becomes Mahomes or Andy Reid? Andy Reid brings in all these different receivers and running backs that aren't great. They don't have great stats.
Right.
But they work really well in the system. The 49ers, same thing. You wonder about that. We didn't really do that with Montana and Walsh, I don't think. Do you remember? Montana got a lot of the credit for that. It was Montana. He's Joe Cool.
Yeah, look at the players look at the players on that roster.
Right.
Holy shit!
If you put Mahomes on the Browns right now, he'd be awful. He would be awful on that team with that culture and with that roster. It'd be a terrible thing. So yeah, it's. You've got to find the right mix around that. And look, if there's a transcendent quarterback and you want to take a flyer on it, if it's going to change the culture of your team overnight, I get it. Baker Mayfield, though, did that with Cleveland. They botched it. But Mahomes was not the first quarterback taken in that draft. And how does it, the first quarterback or second quarterback taken ends up not being the best one?
Exactly, because they go to crappy situations.
Yep.
All right, Tito, tell everybody how they can get all your great fantasy information.
You can go to @FitHappens on Twitter, on the X there. Find me there. Also, fantasydraftproxies.com is where you can go for draft help. If you got a rookie draft coming up and you want help with that, by all means, go to fantasydraftproxies.com, inquire about that. Chad Rink and I, we host Fantasy Football Island, the podcast here, and you can reach out to us on that. Also, we got a new episode coming up this weekend.
All right, great stuff, Tito. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate you.
Thanks, guys. Have a great weekend.
See you, man.
I will say this. I love when the draft get here because I get tired of the draft buildup, because we oversell so many guys that never even become anything in the NFL,
And we've been talking about it now since first part of March, right after the Super Bowl, really, in the middle of February. So I'm ready.
Michael LaRue says Deion didn't get his number 2 retired at FSU until 10 years after he played. Exactly. I can't even remember a college player whose number got retired right after they were.
Has it ever happened? I mean, maybe if it's at a little school, I could see Miami of Ohio retiring Ben Roethlisberger's number, when he wins the Super Bowl or something. But that was even years later.
Sergio Biltres is back in here trying to get that Fan of the Month award. I like the effort, Sergio. It says Bucs first round needs to be another edge rusher or MLB. Later rounds we can address DB or even a receiver. Could not agree more, my friend. Listen, a lot of mocks have Jahad Campbell going to the Bucs. I love that pick. But and here's one of the reasons why. Bowles, his defense is a positionless defense. When you really think about it, the way he drops linebackers and defensive back, it's like a chessboard to him. I would like it to be a little bit more simplified, but the way he's running it, you got a guy who's an absolute game wrecker, 6'3", 235, is a great athlete, tackles well in space, can cover, can come off the edge. That dude can do so many different things. So I like that as a child. Typically, I'm not high on inside linebackers. I'd like them to go pure edge rush.
Yeah.
But I think he can also be an edge rusher, and you can line him up outside if you want to in certain situations. He doesn't have to stay in the middle all the time. So if you can get a guy that has all those attributes, well, why wouldn't you take that? Why wouldn't you? I know the pure edge rusher is something that I think you have to be a Super Bowl team. And by the way, ironically, Simeon Rice will be announcing the picks second day for the Bucs at Green Bay, one of our greatest edge rushers in the history of the franchise. So, yeah, I would love that pick because I think it covers a lot of different – because you're not going to be able to line up some of these pure edge rushers on the inside as a linebacker, but Jahai Campbell could do that. So I think there's value there.
Yeah.
What
are we doing for the draft? Are we going to do something?
Well, we're not going to be at Riveters. We're not going to be at Riveters. We'll be there for a baseball game, probably, or a light, probably. Well, we got home games Tuesday, but we'll be doing watch parties there too on Tuesday and Thursday next week for that. Well, then we'll do some lightning watch parties for the away games down at Sunrise. We'll definitely do that. So that'll be on the Saturday, I believe. So. We'll be doing that, but for the draft, I'm going to be over at One Buck Place, waiting for them to make their pick and do the press conference. So we could do something from there, absolutely. So
we'll put something together, maybe on Thursday. If you're going to be there Thursday, right, for the first round?
Yes.
Maybe I'll pop on here. We can pop on StreamYard and do a quick hit on who they pick and a little short dive on it.
Yeah,
everybody.
Well, if you want to get together some of your Athlon folks to do a little mock, we can do that next week as well.
All right, we'll talk about it. That'll work.
All right. So you guys have a great weekend. Go Rays tonight against the Yankees, the stinking Yankees. We'll be back on Monday to obviously set up the Panthers and the Lightning. And once again, thoughts and prayers, all my FSU family. We'll get through this. Noel strong. Have a great weekend, everybody.